Okay, so 6.5 stories on those, and the bag house 37 feet. And what's the final elevation? Is that 2160 or is that incorrect?
2160.
2160. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Actually, there's going to be a change on that. It's going to come, the final grade is going to be 2155.
Okay.
2160.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. And then you've talked in the past. You talked about tax revenue and bringing tax revenue into the county. I understand that real estate property tax is just a small portion of that. I do. I'm just going to ask you about that because I was curious. I looked at it, and I know you're wanting to pour millions into this property by the time you're done. So I looked at the other 3 asphalt plants that are in Henderson County and what their property tax value is right now. And I was really surprised. None of those.
Very low.
Very low, yeah, $200,000 to $300,000. What is the projected tax value of the property that you own after you make all the improvements, assuming you get your asphalt plant approved and you build that?
I will have to get an answer for you.
Okay. During the process last year, you said that you wanted to be a good neighbor. And there's a sign on your building that says that right now. I don't know who said this, so first of all, let me just say I'm not accusing any one individual for this, but last year during that June 8th neighborhood compatibility meeting, Warren, you were on the mic, and you were answering questions, and there were other people in the room who weren't seen. Now, I know we were told it was you, Jeff, and it was also you, Brian.
Correct.
I don't know if anyone else was there or not. But at 2 hours and 30 minutes into that meeting, there was a question asked. So John Kosanke asked about the smell of the plant. And then someone off screen in that room said, "Don't answer him." Do you think that's an example of being a good neighbor?
No, that was probably my advice. So no, that is not an example of being a good neighbor, and I apologize for saying that.
Okay, thank you for admitting to that. I appreciate that.
And I don't know, I'm trying to remember, but when he said don't answer, it may have been at the time we didn't have our air modeling. We didn't have any type of reports to base something that we would have responded to you.
Yeah.
It would have been false because we didn't know.
Yeah, got it. Okay. All right, I appreciate that. All right, and then Meg. So Meg was up here speaking earlier. I don't remember her last name. I apologize. She was talking about how we could find experts, scientists who could really validate anything that we want to say. And last August, your website was claiming there would be no harm to anyone's property or their health. Actually, the quote was verbatim, "There will be no harm to anyone's health or property values." Now, it's probably a question for you, Brian, because Jeff.
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I can't answer
I
any
understand
questions.
that. I understand that, and that's not going to be the question, okay? But I appreciate that. I know you're not a doctor. And Jeff, we spoke, and after we talked, I believe that you believe that that statement is true, and that this will not harm anyone. I believe you believe that. But Brian, in May 2019, you had Donald Reed review the validity of Doug Brueggemann's market impact analysis for the real estate values in a different battle. So at that time, you were sitting on the side of a community like us who opposed an asphalt plant. And that community was up in Marshall. North Carolina. And during that testimony, you presented as an exhibit that market analysis, and then examined Donald Reed, who was an appraiser in Asheville, and he had reviewed that market analysis. Ironically, at the time, Lynn Carmichael, and Lynn is the person who has submitted a market impact analysis this time around, was on the side of the asphalt plant, like now, and was, minimizing the real estate values that were going to be diminished, right? In that study, in that market impact analysis, there were some determinations, and Donald Reed had verified this. So they looked at the effects of home values over 15 years within 1 mile radius of 5 other asphalt plants in western North Carolina. Weaverville, the one on Goldberg Road, and that impact over 15 years, that impacted the values of those properties comparative to or relative to other properties that weren't within that radius, that 1 mile radius, down 12.69% over 15 years. Inca, the one in Inca Candler, down 4.98%. Hendersonville Road, down 23.96%. Black Mountain, down 13.22%. And Waynesville, down 23.9% over those 15 years. You said in your closing arguments that Lynn Carmichael's market analysis said basically the same thing, right? But, and I quote, she sliced her apple a lot thinner, right? Meaning she didn't take the cut that Brueggemann did. She didn't look at all those properties, and she didn't compare apples to apples in hers. Is it now your opinion that the information you submitted on behalf of that community who is opposing an asphalt plant is false or inadequate?
That was a different matter than this one. If you have a question about this case, I'll answer that question. But I'm not going to go back in and give you my trial strategy on all trials that you either agree with me on or disagree with me on. It is the research and the analysis that went into it that I interpreted a particular way and have give my opinion in my closing arguments, right? Those are my statements. Those aren't, I'm not the one up there testifying about it. Reasonable minds disagree. I may disagree with you about who makes the fastest car, the best football team, right? Reasonable minds disagree. So to ask me a question about what I did in another trial is completely unfair when we're up here talking to Mr. Shipman about his application and the information that we are presenting. And so if you want to ask me about Lynn Carmichael, I'll say, yes, we have Lynn Carmichael, who did a study based upon the asphalt plants in this area, in Henderson County. And she has looked at those values and has determined that the values in Henderson County rise at the same rate as other properties that are further away or not around asphalt plants. So that's my opinion, that she is the best one to give the opinion, and so I stand behind what she says when she evaluates Henderson County. And you have to understand that's an unfair question to talk about trial strategies. It'd be like asking me in the last murder case that I did, do I really believe he didn't fire the gun?
So what we're talking about, Brian, is is real estate values.
Correct.
Whether they'll be harmed or not.
Correct, and we have an
In that
opinion that says,
previous-
we have an opinion that says they won't. And I didn't come up with that opinion,
That's right.
but I'm gonna advocate for that opinion. Okay, so
course.
that's the answer. And so then to go back to Madison County and what facts were gathered there in that jurisdiction and by whom, I'm just not gonna answer anything about Madison County.
I understand, I respect that. So Jeff, I just want you to know, I don't know if you've seen those reports or not, but those reports say Hendersonville Road, so Henderson County, that plant caused a 23.96, almost 24% reduction in value compared to comparable homes outside of that 1 mile radius, just so you have the facts. I have a concern that you may not be getting all the facts, and you're making a judgment based on what you have, and I appreciate that. I know that you think that people's homes won't be harmed, but I'm not sure that you're looking at everything. Now you have that, and let me know if you want to see that entire study. I'm happy to provide that to you if Brian doesn't. Brian has that as well.
I do not have that study. And I apologize, I've transferred firms, and as part of that, I had to leave that study with my old firm.
I got it, then. I'm happy to provide that if you want it, okay? Thank you.